Okay, get ready for this. There is a wild bird in Africa that has figured out how to use humans as tools, not the other way around. The bird uses US, and honestly, we should be a little embarrassed about how well it works. Today we are talking about the honeyguide bird, and by the end of this video, your brain is going to feel like it just did a backflip. Let's go. So picture this. You are walking through the African bush, maybe in Tanzania, maybe in Mozambique. It is hot, it is beautiful, and then out of nowhere, this little brown bird shows up and starts doing the most dramatic performance you have ever seen. It flutters right in front of your face, it chirps like crazy, it fans out its little tail feathers so you can see the white patches on the sides, and then it flies forward, stops on a branch, looks back at you, and does the whole thing again. That bird is not lost. That bird is not confused. That bird is recruiting you. It wants you to follow it, and if you are smart enough to keep up, it will lead you to something amazing. A wild beehive, packed with honeycomb, buzzing with thousands of bees. But here's the twist. Here's the part that flips everything upside down. The honeyguide bird cannot actually eat the honey itself. Not really. What it wants is the beeswax. Specifically, it wants the larvae and the wax inside the comb. And it cannot get to any of that on its own because the bees would absolutely destroy it. So the bird found a partner. A big, brave, slightly overconfident partner. You, me, us, humans. The deal is simple. You follow the bird, you find the hive, you smoke out the bees, you break open the comb, and you take the honey. Then you leave behind the scraps of wax and larvae. The bird swoops in, gets exactly what it wanted, and everyone goes home happy. This is not an accident. This is not a coincidence. This partnership has been going on for thousands of years. Actual thousands. Cave paintings in Zimbabwe that are over 8,000 years old show humans following these birds to beehives. 8,000 years. That is older than most of recorded history. These birds have been running this operation since before the pyramids existed. Let that sink in. Now here is where it gets even more incredible, and this is one of those facts that scientists are still genuinely amazed by. The honeyguide bird has a specific call it uses only when it wants to recruit a human guide follower. Researchers who study the Yao people in Mozambique discovered something shocking. The bird actually responds differently depending on how humans call back to it. The Yao people use a special sound, a kind of trilling growl that basically means, "Hey bird, I am here, let us do this." And when they make that sound, the honeyguide is significantly more likely to guide them to a hive, and more likely to guide them to a bigger, better hive. It is like the bird recognizes a serious partner versus just some random person wandering around. Scientists tested this. They played the Yao guiding call, and they played other random human sounds, and they played the calls of other animals. The honeyguide responded way more actively and way more successfully to the traditional call. The bird learned. The bird remembered. The bird knows the difference between someone who knows the deal and someone who is just wasting its time. That is communication between two completely different species. Real, functional, back and forth communication between a human and a bird working together on purpose. Now let me hit you with the science side for a second because it is wild. The honeyguide bird belongs to a family called Indicatoridae. There are about 17 species, but the one doing all this human recruiting is called the greater honeyguide. It is not a big bird, it is actually pretty plain looking, kind of brown and gray. You would walk right past it in a pet store, but this bird has a superpower that most animals on the planet do not have. It can digest beeswax, actual wax. Most animals cannot do this at all. The honeyguide has special bacteria in its gut that break down wax and turn it into energy. So while you are enjoying a spoonful of honey, this bird is sitting there, happily eating what most creatures would consider completely inedible. That is like being the one kid who actually enjoys eating the cardboard box instead of the cereal inside it. Weird, effective, impressive. Here is another fact that is going to make you go, wait, what? Honeyguide birds are brood parasites. That means they do not raise their own babies. The mother honeyguide sneaks her eggs into the nests of other bird species, and those other birds end up raising the honeyguide chick without even knowing it is not theirs. And when the honeyguide chick hatches, it has a tiny hooked tip on its beak that it uses to kill the other chicks in the nest. Gone. Done. So this bird starts life as a ruthless tiny assassin, then grows up to become a genius wildlife business negotiator. The honeyguide contains multitudes, and here is the thing that really gets me. This bird is not trained by humans. Nobody taught it to guide people to hives. It figured this out through evolution. Over countless generations, the birds that were brave enough and clever enough to approach humans and guide them were the birds that ate more, survived better, and had more babies. So the behavior got passed down and sharpened over time. Nature literally selected for the ability to recruit a human coworker. That is evolution being absolutely hilarious. But now here's the sad part, and yes, there is a sad part. In many parts of Africa, fewer and fewer young people are learning the traditional honey hunting practices. The old knowledge, including the special calls that the birds respond to, is disappearing as communities change and modernize, and researchers are genuinely worried about what this means for the birds. Because the honeyguide evolved alongside humans, it needs us. Without people who know how to respond to the bird and follow through on the partnership, the birds in those areas guide less, eat less wax, and the whole ancient system starts to break down. Think about that. A wild animal living out in nature evolved to depend on a specific human cultural tradition. If that tradition disappears, the bird suffers for it. The connection goes both ways. We changed each other. Over thousands of years, humans and this little brown bird shaped each other's behavior and survival. That is one of the deepest wildlife partnerships on the entire planet. Scientists call this kind of relationship a mutualism. Both sides benefit, both sides need it. But this one is different from most because it involves culture. It involves learned behavior passed down through generations on both sides. The Yao people teach their children the call. The honeyguide somehow passes down the knowledge that following up on that call leads to food. It crosses the line from just biology into something that feels almost like friendship. A very old, very practical, very weird friendship between humans and a bird. So the real reason honeyguide birds lead humans to beehives is not magic. It is not instinct alone. It is thousands of years of mutual problem solving. The bird has something we want. We have something the bird cannot do alone. Somewhere back in ancient Africa, one brave little bird decided to take a chance and fly up to a human and say, "Hey, I have a proposition for you." And a human curious enough and hungry enough decided to follow. And 8,000 years later, that deal is still running. The honeyguide is proof that intelligence is not just about brain size. It is about figuring out the world creatively, building partnerships, and showing up with a plan. This tiny bird looked at the most dominant species on the planet and thought, yeah, I can work with that. We should all be so resourceful. Now I want to know what you think. If animals have been forming partnerships with humans for thousands of years without us even realizing it, which other animal do you think might be secretly using us to get what it wants? Drop your answer in the comments. I have a feeling some of you are going to say something that is going to keep me up at night.